What's going on, everyone? So at the time of recording this video, this is actually the final week of the Cursed Sailors event, and I'd just like to say quickly, this has been my favourite addition to Sea of Thieves since the release. Now, that being said, this video is going to be a little bit different. I mean, of course, I'm going to tell you what to do, but this video is going to be mainly about all the tips that I've worked out in these last few weeks, and just sort of my best way of completing these different ships and killing them. But just before we get too far into the video, I just want to say, if you enjoy Sea of Thieves content, and you want to be the first person, probably in the world, to know how to complete these events, feel free to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because that's exactly what I do. My goal is to be the first person to post and complete the full walkthroughs of these new events and how to do them. So if that's your type of thing, feel free to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Anyway, let's get on to the video. So anyway, as I said earlier in the video, they've added 3 new ships. Now, these will be in the exact same spot they've been in the last 2 weeks, and the way you summon them is still the same. Of course, you've got to look at your clock and find out what's active when and where you got to go, but anyway, they haven't really changed much in the way of that. Now, if you don't want to know what these ships do and their curse cannonball effects, please skip about 20 seconds, because I'll be saying it now. So essentially what they do is one of them gives you snake venom, the other one raises your sails, and the final one puts you to sleep. Now, in my experience at the time of recording this, the only one that I've actually found an issue with is the snake venom one, and that's only because it is very annoying. In my opinion, it's probably the most annoying one that's been released thus far. Alright, so moving on to the general strategies of sinking these ships, which I'm sure is mainly what you guys came to this video for. And now, of course, my favourite strategy is, without a doubt, using your cannons and throwing buckets onto their ship. I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again, they don't know how to bucket water, but they do know how to repair the ship. So if you essentially make your goal as putting water on their ship and not so much putting holes in their ship, you'll be able to sink them a lot quicker. Now, whether that means by putting a chest of sorrows in there, or by throwing buckets of water, or by swimming beside the ship and throwing buckets of water, then jumping off and getting the ladder. Just make sure you get water in there no matter the cost, and always aim for the bottom level when you're shooting cannons. And even gunpowder barrels aren't a bad idea, but I don't find myself using them as much as I probably should. Now, that being said, I'm not actually against using gunpowder barrels, but just know that it's not really worth getting them if you're on a time crunch, because I don't find them overly useful. Now, that essentially wraps up the how to complete this event sort of thing, but I just want to move on to tips now, and this is probably the most important part of the video in my opinion. So I actually do have a few that I want to run through that I've tweaked and also sort of found out more recently, but I haven't actually had the chance to post it because I wanted to save it for this 3rd week so you guys can have the best opportunity to complete all the challenges if you haven't already. So of course, my first 2 tips are actually pretty simple, and they are without a doubt communication and alliances. Without a doubt, I mean, even if you do turn on them at the end of your alliance, which I'm just going to say quickly, I don't suggest on doing it, but if you do want to form an alliance, just make sure you communicate with them, because no matter if you turn on them or if you don't, it'll actually speed this whole process up a lot more. And I'm sure at the end of the day, you just don't want to spend too much time doing these events, and you just want to sort of get it done and get your loot, so just form an alliance, even if you turn on them. Now, following that, I also said communication. That's whether with your team or with the team you're allied with, but make sure you talk to them and tell them what you're doing, because good communication is a good way for teamwork, so if you're communicating well together, you'll without a doubt do well as a team. Now, my next tip is actually more so based around your map, if anything else. One thing I do find an issue, and this happens with me a lot, I'm not sure if it does for you guys, but I do find myself going outside of the zone every now and then. So what I've done to avoid that is actually I put a bunch of circles around the rough area of where I think the actual event ends, and just sort of communicate between your team to tell them where you are and just stay inside those circles. That has actually made my life a hell of a lot easier inside this event. Now, moving on to my final big tip, and now this is essentially what you can see in the video. I did find out that they actually can't shoot you if you stand behind the little cage thing, so just sort of bait them in there and just kill them off like you're doing a fort. That way you won't be able to get shot and lose your health. Now, to keep this video short, that's essentially all the big important tips that I think you guys can benefit from, and that essentially wraps up this video. So as I said at the start of the video, if you do like Sea of Thieves content, please feel free to subscribe and hit that notification bell. And yeah, that's essentially it. So if you liked the video, please leave a like, and hopefully I'll see you on my next video. Anyway, I'll see you guys later.